The year is 2003. The location, Hollywood. And amidst the glitz and the glamour, a single aerial photograph of a lavish home is about to become the center of a storm. And the homeowner? Barbara Streisand. In a bid to maintain her privacy, she sued Kenneth Adelman, the photographer, and the website Pictopia.com. Citing violations of privacy, she wanted the photo to be taken down. Now keep in mind, at this point the images only had 6 downloads, 2 of which were from Streisand's lawyers themselves. But unfortunately, this lawsuit had a unintended consequence. See, the case garnered so much attention from press and media that the images ended up being downloaded hundreds of thousands of times within the first month of the case. Her bid to keep that one image private and stop it from spreading around the internet ended up catapulting it into the global spotlight. And it's often the case that when people try to hide, suppress, or censor information, they end up having the reverse effect. It actually ends up bringing a lot more attention to the information that they're trying to suppress. And so, for obvious reasons, this phenomenon became known as the Streisand Effect. It's the irony of the digital age. I mean, trying to suppress information today sort of ends up screaming it from the digital rooftops. Now, let's pivot to a realm where this effect takes on a whole new dimension: Bitcoin. And it's an interesting question. I mean, in a world where some want to push it into the shadows, could these very efforts be lighting Bitcoin's path to prominence? Buckle up, because we're about to find out, can they just ban Bitcoin? Okay, taking a few steps back, before we talk about whether or not they'll actually be able to ban Bitcoin if they tried, let's figure out why they would want to. What's all the buzz about Bitcoin? See, Bitcoin is a digital form of money. But not just any money, it's decentralized, which means that it's not under the control of any central entity such as a government or a bank. Instead, Bitcoin operates on a network of computers spread all the way across the globe. These computers validate and record transactions on a public ledger called the blockchain, which I'm sure you've heard of. So if that's all that Bitcoin is, why would governments want to ban it? Well, let's just say Bitcoin is the new kid on the block, and it's doing a very good job at threatening the very institutions that fund the government. Now, when somebody is threatening your source of income, you're probably going to want to put that thing or person, or technology in this case, in the dirt. But here's the thing, Bitcoin, by its very nature, is designed to be resilient and adaptable. It's like water finding its way around objects. It's anti-fragile.
Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Author Nassim Nicholas Taleb detailed this concept of anti-fragility in his book called Anti-Fragile. He said that all things can be grouped into 3 categories. Firstly, there are fragile things. Now these things, they break under stress or under change or under resistance. And then secondly, there is robust or resilient things. Now these things, they can take on quite a lot of resistance and they can handle a lot of stress, but it doesn't benefit them. And then thirdly, he poses the idea of the anti-fragile system, or the anti-fragile thing. Now under this third category are all things that grow or benefit from stress or resistance or change, up to a certain point at least. Now Bitcoin is, at almost every level of its design, anti-fragile. So with this concept of anti-fragility in mind, can they, whoever that is, but we'll get to that, just ban Bitcoin? And if they can, will that really matter? Will it hurt Bitcoin? Will Bitcoin just stop dead in its tracks, or may it actually benefit Bitcoin? So I guess really we have a few questions to answer then. Firstly, can they just ban Bitcoin? Is this something that is possible? Secondly, will they? Is there any reason for them to? Is this actually something that would benefit governments? And thirdly, will Bitcoin be affected? And if so, will it be affected for the better or for the worse? So, I'll answer the first one really quickly. Can they just ban Bitcoin? Yes, they can ban anything. They can do that to Bitcoin just as they have done with other things. They even did it with gold in the early 20th century. In America, they had Executive Order 6102, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yes. Okay, my memory still works. It's called Executive Order 6102. It was put in place in the early 20th century, and it forbid the ownership of gold or gold coin in the United States of America. something that many people never thought would happen because it was the primary version of money for hundreds of years. For the United States government to say this is now something that's illegal to hold was pretty crazy. And there has been plenty of examples of bans on Bitcoin coming through. Bitcoin still exists though. So why doesn't it work? Take China, for instance. The world's most populous nation has, over the years, made many attempts to clamp down on Bitcoin. But here's where it gets really interesting, because each time China tightened its grip, Bitcoin not only survived, but often surged in global interest and value, which is a perfect example of just how anti-fragile Bitcoin really is. And then there's India. In 2018, the Indian central bank threw a curveball, restricting financial institutions from dealing with Bitcoin businesses. But guess what? The people rallied. The use of peer-to-peer exchanges actually grew, and the hashtag #IndiaWantsCrypto began surging all over social media. Now, it said crypto, which is unfortunate, but unfortunately that's where a lot of the attention lies. So, to answer our question, no, a single country's Bitcoin ban has never actually stopped Bitcoin. In fact, these bans oftentimes act as a catalyst, sparking innovation, curiosity, and even defiance. But what if all the world's governments launched a unified attack on Bitcoin, and they all agreed to ban it at the same time? Let's dive deeper. See, there's another reason that countries might want to avoid banning Bitcoin, and it's called jurisdictional arbitrage. And it sounds fancy, but it's not, don't worry. It just refers to the following phenomena. Well, if one country bans Bitcoin, they achieve two things. Firstly, they push all of the Bitcoin-related economic activity within their jurisdiction completely underground, ensuring that they never get to capitalize on any of the tax advantages of an emerging industry in their country. And secondly, all of the Bitcoin-related economic activity that didn't get pushed underground will flee to a more friendly jurisdiction. This means, again, that they are moving business out of their country. And that is against the business model of governments. Governments need business to occur within their jurisdiction so that they can tax it and then have more resources in order to grow and expand. This is sort of the function of government. And so when there is an emerging industry such as Bitcoin, they're going to want to keep that within their borders as much as possible. This is why you see places like El Salvador becoming Bitcoin havens, because they recognize the fact that this is an opportunity to not only accept a new form of money into the world, but also to make a bit of money in the process. I'm sure that's a large portion of the strategy and the thought process behind Nayib Bukele's decision to basically make his country into a Bitcoin country. So, by banning Bitcoin, not only are they passing up on their opportunity to capitalize on this emerging industry, but they're also ensuring that other countries with which they're in competition are eating their slice of the pie. It's the digital equivalent of retracting your borders for free. Because if a Bitcoin company is informed that they're no longer able to operate within country A, then they'll go to country B. The only way for bans like this to work is if every single jurisdiction launched a unified attack upon Bitcoin in which they outlawed the operation of Bitcoin businesses within every single jurisdiction at the same time, such that Bitcoin companies and Bitcoin economic activities had nowhere to go. Imagine every world leader from every corner of the globe coming to a unanimous decision. That's the punchline, that's the joke. All jokes aside, it's not the most likely occurrence because of something called game theory. If you've ever looked into the prisoner's dilemma, you'll know what we're talking about. If not, I'll link a video. But anyway, here's the overview. If two countries decide to talk to each other about banning Bitcoin, and they decide to come to an agreement to do so, then now both countries know that the other one is planning on banning Bitcoin, which means they're going to be pushing all of the Bitcoin economic activity outside of their jurisdiction. And they're going to recognize an opportunity in that, which is, if this big country is about to ban Bitcoin and move all of the Bitcoin businesses out of his country, and I'm agreeing to do the same, well, why wouldn't I just make him go first so that he bans Bitcoin, and then I'll accept it and actually loosen my regulatory stance on Bitcoin, such that all of the companies that leave this country come to my country, and I get to profit from all of the lovely tax benefits of having a new emerging industry growing and developing within my borders. Awkward one. Now, similarly, let's expand this example and say that every single country in the world is coming together, they're all at a dinner party, and they're saying, we're all going to ban Bitcoin. Now, there's the leader of every single country at this dinner party, and he is seeing every single person in the world, every country in the world, saying they're going to get rid of Bitcoin in their borders. Now, this means that also every single person at that party knows that if they don't follow through with what they agreed to do, and if they actually loosen their restrictions around Bitcoin, then all of the Bitcoin-related activity from all of the other countries is going to go straight to his country. Now, that's a big pie, and somebody's going to want a slice. So what's the reality? The reality of the situation is that countries have a very diverse range of social, political, and economic viewpoints on how to structure their societies. What works for some isn't going to work for others, and so it's going to be hard to pull off a global ban on Bitcoin. But on the global stage, achieving consensus is a Herculean task. The United Nations, for instance, has 193 member states. Getting them all to agree on lunch, let alone a Bitcoin ban, is optimistic to say the least. Bitcoin, with its decentralized nature, isn't bound by any borders. It actually thrives on a global community, from miners to users. Every individual, every transaction, every node adds to its strength. And while regulations might guide the path of its acceptance, the underlying essence of Bitcoin remains unyielding. So, a global ban on Bitcoin? It's a complex puzzle, to say the least, and the pieces constantly shifting. But what would happen if they actually pulled this off? So far, we've mainly been talking about whether or not governments will actually ban Bitcoin. But what happens if they do? Does Bitcoin suddenly stop existing? Does it stop working? No. So let's journey into a world after the storm. What truly happens after a government says
no
to Bitcoin? Bitcoin bans have fueled peer-to-peer trading, VPN usage, and hush-hush meetups. So restrictions, they often lead to innovation. It's technology's own Streisand Effect. And the Bitcoin community is resilient. It's always finding ways to adapt and evolve to changing circumstances. From creating decentralized platforms to designing new methods of transaction, Bitcoiners can be relentlessly innovative. It's a dynamic dance between regulation and revolution. And so far, at every step, Bitcoin has come out on top. So the aftermath of a ban? It's not the end, but often a new beginning, a testament to the indomitable spirit of Bitcoiners. But how is this the case? How is it that governments aren't able to do anything about the usage of Bitcoin? Throughout history, when faced with restrictions, the human spirit has often shown an uncanny ability to adapt, innovate, and circumvent. From the Berlin Wall to prohibition, restrictions have often led to ingenious workarounds. In the digital age, as governments impose internet restrictions, tools like VPNs, Tor browsers, and peer-to-peer networks emerge as gateways to the wider web. Where internet access is limited or censored, satellite internet and mesh networks become lifelines, connecting remote areas and bypassing traditional infrastructure. Trade embargoes, they've often given rise to black markets. Cultural or media bans, they birth underground art movements, secret libraries, and clandestine film screenings, preserving the essence of expression. Communication restrictions lead to the creation of secret languages, codified messages, and cryptography. In fact, it's the innovations in this area that made the invention of Bitcoin possible. In essence, every restriction is met with a countermove, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of freedom. As history has shown, when one door closes, countless windows of technological opportunity open. So, why should we care so much? It's just digital money. Well, there's a scene from a movie called V for Vendetta that I would like to share with you because I think it perfectly encapsulates the general summary of this video. A powerful proclamation comes from the main character of this film, called V. He says that ideas are bulletproof. The movie paints a picture of a world where an idea, a belief, can ignite a revolution and withstand oppression. And in this, there lies an uncanny parallel with Bitcoin. Much like the indomitable spirit of an idea, Bitcoin too has shown a resilience that is nothing short of remarkable thus far. Despite the naysayers, the bans, the regulatory hurdles, Bitcoin is thriving today more than it has ever in the past. And why is this?
Why won't you die? Beneath this mask, there is more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy. And ideas are bulletproof.
Bitcoin is an idea. Just as ideas have sparked revolutions, toppled regimes, and rewritten history, Bitcoin challenges the status quo, offering a new narrative both for the world of finance and of personal sovereignty. Bitcoin, in its essence, is that unyielding idea in the world of money, proving time and time again that despite the best efforts of its naysayers, it's here to stay. So, in conclusion, no, Bitcoin is not under threat from government bans. So here's a quick summary of the 10 main reasons why for you to take home with you. 1. Inherent decentralization. Bitcoin's decentralized structure ensures that no single entity or government controls it. A ban in one country doesn't halt its global operations, making a universal shutdown implausible. 2. Jurisdictional arbitrage. A ban in one country can lead to a migration of Bitcoin businesses to a friendlier jurisdiction. A global ban would require unanimous international agreement, which is unlikely considering the diverse perspectives on Bitcoin, as well as the game theory of the whole situation. 3. Economic opportunities. Recognizing Bitcoin's potential, many nations are reluctant to miss out on tax revenues, job opportunities, and tech advancement. Countries embracing Bitcoin might gain a global economic edge. 4. Mainstream integration. With increasing adoption by major corporations, financial institutions, and even some governments, an outright ban could disrupt the broader financial ecosystem. 5. The Streisand Effect. Attempts to ban or censor often amplify interest. A ban could inadvertently boost Bitcoin's popularity and adoption. 6. Enforcement challenges. The peer-to-peer nature of Bitcoin transactions makes enforcement of bans technically challenging. While centralized exchanges can be targeted, decentralized platforms and technologies like VPNs can circumvent these restrictions. 7. Historical lessons. Banning a demanded commodity often leads to the rise of black markets, making it harder to regulate and potentially increasing its appeal. 8. Diverse governmental stances. Not all governments oppose Bitcoin. Some, like El Salvador, have integrated it into their financial systems, highlighting its very global reception. 9. Growing user base. As more people invest in and use Bitcoin, governments might face public resistance against restrictive measures. 10. Industry evolution. The Bitcoin industry's rapid innovation means that even if Bitcoin faces challenges today, new, more adaptable technologies such as the Lightning Network can emerge, further complicating regulatory efforts. So, I hope that answered your question. If you thought that anything I said during this video was stupid, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to, you can check out part 1 of this video. It'll come up as a little box at the end, or there'll be a link in the description if you don't see that. But that's just about it. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss one of our uploads. We're going to be uploading videos just like this every week where we tackle a new concept or a new idea that's Bitcoin or money related, and we're going to try to break it down and make it as understandable as possible so that you don't have to pull your hair out when you're learning about this stuff, because I know it can be challenging. But that's just about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next week.